Hey HappiCrew, HappiDaze here, and we are back from vacation. So I got back when Grand Party Day 1 had just started, so I've been gone for about a week. There's a lot of new stuff going on with the new version update that they released, a new Sugo Fest for the Alpha unit for support VP. So just a lot of stuff going on. So today's video, we're just going to do our Day 1 and Day 2 Grand Party matches, kind of walk through and narrate what we did. For Day 1, as I mentioned, I came in at about midnight, just about an hour after the event went live. So for the first day, I just used the Int Luffy. I like to see how he is against some of the burst leaders for the season, see how he does. And then Day 2, we're going to swap it up and go to Kizaru, just because for the rule set for the season, it really favors his abilities. So obviously because of the Logia and Zone buffs that are getting applied here, it just makes sense that if we have him as the leader, we're going to get Dex and Quick teams going really quick. Now, because we are primarily just building a Dex team for this event, because we're using Kizaru as the boss, we're not going to actually have a Quick team, just because they're not really that great compared to a bunch of the other different teams that are out there. So we'll have some teams that are built around driven strikers, some around Dex, but no Quick. Again, because he only has to do pretty much 20,000 damage, I think it is, or maybe a little bit more than that, maybe 30,000 damage to get his burst ready to go, Kizaru's burst. And he gets another one, so he'll get 4 total. He just will be a powerhouse this season. So I see Day 4 and 5 are probably going to be pretty toxic. Just a quick reminder, when you're going for the season, when you're doing it for the day, go ahead and switch your captain to a non-burst captain. Use the auto-edit to just quickly modify all your teams. And you have to build your teams every day, again, but still just give everyone a chance to get the 15 out of 15 wins, get the most rewards. So just make sure you are doing that. So with that being said, let's get into Day 1 matches and see how Day 1 went. Alright, so for the first match of this season, we are going to go ahead and use our Int Luffy Burst Captain here. Again, we want to face these fights against Burst Captains first couple days. We have limited retry, so it's good to kind of test this out, see if this Int Luffy is still relevant in the meta that we have out today. So that's being said, let's go ahead and take on this Kaido team. He gets 3 burst gauges for the season, which is just not fun to deal with. Obviously, this is a pretty stacked Dex team, but we have our infamous strength team that we love so much, with Buggy here to help do some debuffs on the Dex team. The enemy Kaido gets his burst gauge charged by taking damage, so that's the only bad part, is that when Jack and one of the other units go, whether Luffy or Kuma, it's pretty much going to get his burst gauge fully charged at that point, and it's just a question of whether he uses it in the first fight, the second fight. But obviously, ideally, if we get it done in the first fight, that's great, because that means he won't have it right away on the second fight, and we can kind of stall out him using them all. So that's kind of the game plan there. You can see we took out the 2 units there. His burst gauge is charged, but it looks like he hasn't chose to use it yet. But we'll see. Once Luffy goes here, he should pretty much just take out everyone else who's still alive. Pell and Danchin Zhao hung on, but that's not the end of the world there. Again, unfortunately, we don't have really any specials ready to go, so we got to kind of wait till the Kobe goes to do a little bit of damage, and then he'll get some PT increase to some of the others. But yeah, either way, that was a pretty quick way to get through match number 1. We're going to take a burst right off the bat on match number 2, because he didn't use it in the first match. And then pretty quickly, we'll probably trigger a second burst as well. Ideally, if we could kind of use it as a sacrificial team, that would be perfect. That way we can kind of go into that third match with them having no burst gauges, us having at least 1 ready to go, and then a second one ready to do that as we take damage. So just a quick reminder, this Int Luffy Burst Captain does get his burst gauge charged by taking damage, so we do want to take a little bit of damage that we can at least get our burst gauge charged and ready to go. Sabo's going to go here. He's just going to do a little bit of damage, nothing kind of too crazy. S-Hawk's going to go. Should pretty much trigger the burst gauge right here now. Again, we'll take it automatically because of the AI. So yeah, we took another shot. We're still hanging on, not in a terrible position. We did get our Luffy forced out, which is unfortunate because he was kind of the main damage dealer here, but I saw that basically with that Luffy burst I had, I could just end the fight here and not have to worry about going into a third match. Though if you saw in the upper right hand corner, I did actually fully charge his burst gauge there. But that's match number 1. Pretty easy first victory, so let's see what burst captains are waiting on match number 2. Alright, so for match number 2, okay, all burst captains. Usually, if I saw this top team here, this Ace Whitebeard, I typically wouldn't face them if it was in the last days, because they're actually pretty insane, and they get buffed by the rule set for the season. When they hit, they can easily pretty much wipe out most of your squad. They do a 70% damage, and then just do a whole bunch of nasty stuff on top of that. So it's a really nasty GP leader to go against. And again, we just have our standard Int Lucy, who only has 2 burst gauges ready there. First fight, it is the Psy team versus our Int team. Now, luckily, they don't have a lot of Int debuff units like the Conus or, Apu or any of those guys who can really decimate an Int team pretty good. Actually, I think Apu actually takes care of Psy, so ignore that last thing. But yeah, there's not a lot of debuffers here that can really take us down too much. So the biggest threat right there was the Nami. You can do the special rewind there, kind of similar to the Nami Karina unit, but you can do a little bit more. So we're really just hoping that we can go ahead and get 1 or 2 of our specials off. Our burst gauge are already almost charged because we've taken a good amount of damage so far. If I remember correctly, I think the Whitebeard and Ace burst gauge gets charged by doing a certain number of certain attacks. I forget if it's like power attacks or specials, but it's one of those. So the good news is we do a lot of damage really quick. It's not going to instantly charge their gauge, and with them having 4 and that 30% HP cut, it just makes it an absolute pain to deal with. So we'll kind of keep shrugging along here. Obviously, if we can have Yamato go, actually we'll use our burst. Yeah, well, we're just waiting for that to get charged. We're probably gonna take another burst here from the Garp. So yeah, back-to-back bursts are obviously not good. Death hit from Yamato will help take out a bunch of the rest of the units there. Garp will go, and then really it's 5-on-1. The backbench is pretty stacked here, so I wasn't too worried. Obviously, Pel could do a whole bunch of damage. The Giants could do a bunch of damage, and obviously my S-Hawk was on the brink of death there. But luckily he came in clutch there and was able to help kill that first match. Second match, it's basically a Dex versus a Strength fight. Now again, because we have Buggy on here, he's going to help debuff majorly the Dex side of the field there, and basically let us get our Jack, Kuma, and Luffy special off. And this is that nasty hit I'm talking about. So yeah, at this point I'm just sacrificing this team. I was hoping that we could get through without having to take that burst, but you can see how crazy that burst is. It just does 7% HP cut, does some additional damage on top of that, half stats. It's nuts. So yeah, if you see this guy, it's going to be in for a doozy if you're facing him in the later days of this Grand Party season. Just be very careful for that. So going to the third match, luckily we still had the type advantage here. So we have our Dex team going against their Quick team. Honestly, I probably should have modified this, and I'll modify it in the second day. I don't know why I didn't have, Garp, the new Garp, the Dex Garp that I pulled, as well as the Kizaru. I could have had them both on one team and just done absolutely ham in terms of amount of damage. But still, this team is more than enough to kind of get through here. Uta's just helping out, giving us some shields, giving us, some time to attack. Of course, the Avalo Pizarro there with the special bind, which is super helpful. And at that point, really, once we have Ace go, he'll do a pretty significant chunk of damage there and should hopefully end it and stop us from taking too much damage. We have the backbench anyway, which is pretty good. So if we have to lose unit, I'm not really super worried here. But like I said, once Ace goes here, he should pretty much end it for everyone. Yeah, there you go. We can take another burst there. Like I said, luckily we have some units on the bench, and we knew that at that point there wasn't really any chance of us losing. So yeah, that burst is pretty nuts. But as you can see, we were able to get around it, which is good with our non-boosted captain for the season. That wraps up fight number 2 for the day. So let's go for the final fight of day number 1 and see if we get perfect 3 out of 3 for the first day. So for the final fight of the day, let's go ahead and take on one final burst captain. We'll take on the Sabo at the top here. I feel pretty good if we could do a strength versus strength matchup. I think I have a little bit more better investments in my strength team than they have on theirs. Again, the strength team, as long as you can go first, you have like a really good chance of kind of getting everything going. I did change out the Buggy that we have on here for Uta because Buggy does not debuff strength units, so just to get it a little bit quicker time to get our specials off, threw him in there. You can see, the team that we were fighting is built pretty similarly. The only difference really is they have Sanji on the front line. He gives a little bit of special CT increase, so they're hoping to really get their specials to go first. That's what they're doing there. But the downside to the strength teams is they're really glass cannon. So as soon as I get my special off, as long as I get one of my guys to go, either Kuma or Luffy, then get my special off, like it's done. So you can see at that point, Kuma comes in, he does his crazy hits. looks like the Luffy might just miss out on going. Let's see. He doesn't go. Okay, yeah, so at this point, there's nothing they can do here. Like, Luffy here is going to pretty much wipe out everyone else. If they have their Luffy go, then we'll have our burst gauge fully charged. Can just use it and just end the battle here. So the first fight is pretty much all in hand at this point. Like I said, we'll just take a shot here from Luffy, get our burst gauge charge, and we can go ahead and just use our burst gauge if we want to just end this battle. We can skip it too. Like, there was only one unit left, right? So it made more sense to just kind of save the burst here. Again, going into fight number 2, we're basically having our Dex team go up against their, it looks like it's pretty much an int team. Obviously, you have to watch out for the confusion from the waifu there. You have the crazy attack through defense that you take from SR. And of course, it doesn't help that they also got a 30% CT increase there. So I didn't even want to bother. Like I said, this was just a team that was supposed to just kind of take a burst. They did their job. They took that burst. And I just felt much more confident that my int team could take on this team right here. Of course, you got to watch out for the shooter team. It's always a pain to deal with the Raizu and Shinobu, of course, the Usopp and Lilith. The sword generals there who can do the confusion as well. So basically the plan was to get pretty close to when they can use their specials, use one of our bursts, so that way if they can go, we're able to kind of hopefully get our burst get charged really quickly, take out their back line, and not worry about it too much. Again, 3 of the units are ready to go, so we're going to take a little bit of delay here, which is just a pain to deal with. The Lucci there, enough to basically just trigger our super burst, and we have the Yamato special waiting, so I knew that once those 2 units in the backbench came out, basically Yamato would be able to come in, she'll use her death hit special, and probably won't kill, but it'll at least be able to hopefully, severely injure one of them, and then we can finish the rest off with either Pell, Luffy, and make it a pretty quick fight. So that was kind of the game, or even any of the giants who just came in. Any of those would be able to easily kind of handle these 2 units. So fixed damage is great. We took it out, not Kizaru, the Kuzan there, and then it's just Garp. So at this point, it's GG's. We've won. There's nothing that really can really do. So that gets us a perfect 3 out of 3 for day 1 facing Burst Captain. So again, we're getting into the day 2 matches in just a second. For day 2, we are going to switch over to Kizaru as the GP Burst leader, just because he gets a bunch of awesome stats for the season. So that being said, let's get into the day 2 matches and see what happens. Alright, so for the first match of day 4 with Kizaru as our leader, we're going to go ahead and take on another Burst Kaido here. We did our fight versus him the first match of the day yesterday, so we just want to see, what's the difference between using the int Luffy versus being able to use the Dex Kizaru here. So we did change our teams up a little bit, so I did happen to do some polls on the support banner, pulled Alpha. So I really want to try out like what she can do, right, in terms of her ability to give a bunch of awesome CT increase, and also, even though death hits are one of the most annoying mechanics to ever deal with in OPTC, this is just a really awesome team that you can have the death hit from the Roger Gaban V2 and the Yamato as well. You can just do a ton of damage, and I charge my burst gauge by doing damage, right? So it just makes sense to be able to go ahead and be able to do that. That way, even if they get their specials off before we're able to go, we'll basically be able to have the death hits trigger that ability to go, as you're just seeing here, and that will basically get our burst gauge charge. Then we can use it. The burst gauge just does a monster amount of damage. You get 4 of them because of the because of the rules of the season, and like I don't even know how they can survive that. So this is like the ultimate like strength team destroyer. Like I just don't see with this team how you can really lose to a strength team, which is pretty amazing. Now, granted, you have to have some not great support units in the back. Obviously, we have the Apu and the York there, who really don't do too much. But they are the 20 cost units, and they do help trigger the condition for Alpha to be able to help out a bunch of the crewmates there. So that's kind of the downside, but as you can see, because of the glass cannon makeup of the strength team, we were able to easily come out and get a pretty easy victory there. So for the second match of day number 2, we're going to go ahead and use our Dex team. As I mentioned, we kind of switched this up. I didn't put Garp on this team still. I don't know why. I'll probably change this for the day 3. Swap out the Garp that you see, the 20 cost Garp at the bottom, maybe 5 cost Garp where Big Mom is, and then figure out kind of what to switch around. But yeah, I don't have Garp in here, who would just kind of help make this team a little bit better. But Big Mom's still pretty good. She's still pretty relevant in terms of the damage that she can do. And literally, you'll have Ace hitting hard, you'll have Kaido hitting hard, you'll have Kizaru hitting hard, and then you have the special burst. So you can see, like, I just literally melted through this team. I did have type advantage too, so obviously that significantly helps. And we are going to take the burst here because we're able to deal enough damage there to take it. But you can see, because the Dex team is super tanky, it really didn't do too much in terms of like actually like taking us out. We could probably take another burst and still be okay. But at this point, and you're going to see if we're going to take another one here. Yeah, we lost 2 units, but we still have a pretty good bench coming in to help, and our burst gauge ready to go. And with that, we're just going to take out the rest of the units here, and basically just let us get an easy victory for match number 2, giving us our first victory of day number 2, which is great, bringing us to 4 out of 4 wins, one step closer to 6 out of 6, so you definitely love to see that. And Big Mom at the end there just coming in with the debt hit to seal the deal. So yeah, this Dex team's pretty awesome. So the combination of having the Dex team with the Kizaru leader, and that new int team that I have is kind of crazy. So this is probably going to be a team I'm going to rock with until the end. Obviously, some things might change slightly in terms of who I use on the strength team, whether I stick with Uta or whether I use Buggy or not. Some of that stuff might change, but for now, this is the structure we're using because it just works out so well. So let's get into fight number 2 on day number 2. Alright, so for the second match of day number 2, again, let's face on the burst captain here. If it was the later days, we'd probably choose that middle team there, but let's go ahead and choose the Kaido again. Why not? The bottom team didn't look too bad. I had a Shuo team up front, and we probably could take it on, but I like facing the Kaido just because it's fun. So we're going to go ahead and take on their slasher team at the top here. I actually could have led off with my strength team and used Buggy to do the debuff on the slashers. Probably should have done that now that I'm thinking about it, but hey, I didn't at the time, so it is what it is. So that being said, we're going to have our int team go up against their slashers. Again, we have the death hits from the Roger Gaban and the Yamato to charge in case they get a bunch of their specials off first, which is, you know, obviously could happen. We took a big shot there from the S-Hawk, and at this point, we're going to get our guys able to start going. We'll have Alice go. She should give us some special CT. Also get Garland ready to go. That was actually key for us right there, because now not only have they went, but if they die from, for example, the Roger and Whitebeard special, then they'll be basically ready to go and charge up again. So at this point, we pretty much won. We do get the charge burst used against, which is actually better. Basically just because that means that they won't have it right off the bat on fight number 2. We did get Garland forced out, which is kind of a pain, and we did end up using one of our bursts there. But like I said, we'll be able to get our charge gauge pretty much almost all the way there just with the Yamato special that you saw there. So we have our special pretty much ready to go. They only have theirs probably about 10%, 15% filled. So that puts us in a really good spot for this fight. It is going to be their Dex team versus our Strength team. Again, could have had this team go in slot 1 against the Slashers either way, but luckily for us, we don't have to. Okay, never mind. I thought their burst gauge wasn't charged, but apparently it was. So we took a burst right off riff, which obviously isn't fun. We're gonna end up taking another one as soon as we have Kuma and Luffy go. With Jack, either one, once they go with Jack, we'll end up triggering that. So we might still lose this fight, but at least they won't have any more burst ready for the final battle if they do decide to use the second one during this fight. And that will just let us basically go ham with our Dex team in that third fight. We do special bind a lot of their guys and basically take out 3 of their guys. Again, we're going to take the burst here. Pretty much will... Okay, I thought it was going to kill Luffy. Luckily, it only forced him out, so that actually was good for us. That should mean that we should be able to, I think, still pull out the victory here. Now, granted, we'll have to wait for Luffy to come back to be able to actually use his special. And we'll just hope that, you know, King and Sentomaru and Kobe can hold on. If Kobe can go and get his shield up, just give us a little bit more defense, which would be awesome. Buggy's just going to do a little bit of cooldown reduction, which doesn't really do much, but this should be over right here with Luffy. Even if he wasn't, our special was ready to go anyway. So, boom, there you go. Nice, easy victory for the second match of day number 2. And it brings us to the final match of day number 2. Let's see if we can go perfect 6 out of 6. So for the final match of the day, we're not going to face the rare recruit pal at the bottom there just because that would be easy. Let's go against Luffy just to see how he is. And 2, I just want to be able to just have my Dex team just kind of wipe up and just absolutely destroy these teams. Now, obviously, they do charge their burst gauge by taking damage, So that means that pretty much their burst gauge is going to be charged full by the end of the first match, without a doubt. Just a question of whether they use their burst on the first match, and then it becomes much easier because they won't have it charged up for the second. We'll be able to get our special going, our burst special going, as well as the special strength team, and it will just make it like a million times easier to get through this battle. So let's see what happens. Obviously, the heavy hitters on this team are the Kizaru, the Ace, and the Big Mom, and the Kaido. They're kind of like crazy hitters. Kizaru can help give the special bind, or special bind to a couple units there, so that obviously helps. Because we have type advantage, there's really not much they can do to really mess us up too bad. Big Mom just missed out, unfortunately, but Kizaru is still doing 8,000 shots, which is awesome. Pizarro with the special bind there, half stats, love to see that. And then once that happens and Ace goes, like, yeah, at that point it's GG's. We'll just wait for their backbench to come in, and then we'll go ahead and use our special. I think, or maybe we could probably stall to let Big Mom go. Perfect. That's awesome. So yeah, we lost a lot of units, but it basically means that they don't have their burst gauge ready to go at the start of the second match, which is awesome because the strength team that we use is kind of a glass cannon team. But just to be safe, we're going with the int team in that second position. Like I said, could have went with strength there, but I was worried that they wouldn't use a burst in that first match and that we'd have to end up taking one right off riff. And yeah, the strength team just doesn't play nicely with burst like that, even from leaders that don't have the rule set burst from this season. So we'll stick with the Dex team. This team could take easily two shots if we had to. Now they already used one, so max they can only use one more special, just because of the 2 limit that's on that Luffy. So we like that. Again, waiting for Sabo to really go. Roger Gabon might just miss out and use their special, unfortunately. It would have been nice if they would have used it. And then if there's a death hit for them, they can use it again, basically. There we go. So that will allow us to do that. We'll go ahead and use our burst right after they use theirs. Yeah, we lost Yamato, but Yamato will do her special after we do our burst. And basically take out another 2 units here. Garland is right on his deathbed. Hopefully he can go. Unfortunately, he got killed before he could go, but it's not a big deal. Like I said, once Roger Gabon gets killed, once they kick off their special, it'll pretty much wipe out everyone else who is there. So the combination of that plus S-Hawk being able to go is going to just kind of split up for us. I'm surprised that Yamato is still alive. She has like the littlest sliver of health. I thought she actually died a while back. But yeah, let's just use our burst gauge and just end it, right? Because they don't have any more. It will bring in Law from the back bench, and then, like I said, once the S-Hawk goes, it should be pretty much game over at that point. So that will bring us up to 6 out of 6 wins. Again, love using the Kizaru captain so far. I didn't get to use him too much when he debuted, so the fact that we're able to use him now is kind of awesome. His GP leader ability is just kind of broken with just the minimal amount of damage you have to get get triggered, and you get 4 of them, which is just crazy. So yeah, that brings us out of 6 out of 6 wins for day number 2. Hopefully you guys enjoyed these videos. Hopefully your Grand Party first couple days are going well. As I mentioned, I'll have some videos out shortly in regards to some of the new events that came out while I was on vacation, with the update that just got released, some of the details there. Some of the new units that have come out recently as well. We'll have some videos out for that. So thank you guys so much for watching. As always, until next time, be kind to each other. Thanks.